Mazramush Hadahuk Ink Don't Blink. This is the intro, but I asked for a friend to help me out, and I hope I pronounce it well. If I do, let me know. If I don't, do not let me know because I'll be forever sad and heartbroken. I promised you guys a beautiful, delightful moon. You get it? You got it also here. I have a little bit of time before we do the TikTok live, so I wanted to do a little something called finishing what we started. So what did we start, my friends? We started Berserk. What didn't we finish? A bunch of things, but we didn't finish Berserk. So without further ado, let's start with Berserk. Now, of course, I didn't do it. Of course, it's gonna ask me to verify if I'm a human. Of course, I should have done it before. By the way, we are watching a new series, and that new series is called the what? This new series is called Ed Gib, which is amazing. So we have previous chapter 1, and I believe this is where we stopped. Verifying if you're human. Truth is, I'm an AI, and what you're saying is not true. Okay, so this I don't remember. I read it this morning, and I'm not remembering. This means mechanical show by some chance to the entity of laws, like the end of God hovering above. Okay, so they're showing the Bailiff, and it's needs to show that man has no control even over his own will. So the reason why they're showing the Bailiff like that is this is the chapter where we meet Zod, and Zod's gonna be a super important it's gonna be a super important character. Now what I absolutely fucking love is Bellet, which is kind of a proof of Griffith possibly. And if you look at the end, it's almost crooked like a talon of an eagle. But then this next scene as you see is the sword and its guts end. Men take up the sword in order to shield a small wound in his heart sustained the far off time beyond remembrance. Men wield the sword so that may die smiling in some far off beyond perception. So this is the guy I was talking about, Zod. Easily one of my favorite characters. He is so interesting. She's fine. So we just talked to a friend. She speaks Darja, and she told me how to do Adahuk. I'm gonna have to practice so much. So we see more war. And this is cool because technically speaking, right, the band of the Ark right now is formed. Spoiler alert, there's no new members after Guts. Guts is the last joining member. So because Guts is the last joining member, you don't have to worry about, oh, we have to introduce his characters. So a character like that, the next step is what? The next step is establishing the band of the Ark as a strong force. You're gonna have to forgive me. We're doing ads because we have an event. We need to do ads. So now what they're doing is they're establishing the Hiran monk. If I remember correctly, he also has some demonic power, but nothing too crazy. And what is cool is this is also a sort of mercenary group, and because they're also a mercenary group, they're possibly one of the only, but they're so much stronger than the Band of Hawk, right? So this is super cool because we got the king. Now if you pay attention in the last chapters, you recognize him. It's like, yo, these are too strong. Can anybody defeat them? Now ultimately speaking, there's this underlying strategy. We don't care if you lose mercs, but if you lose soldier, then you're gonna be mad, right? So the mercs is okay, and the Band of Hawk being there is kind of crazy. This is super freaking cool because the first guy that we see is Guts. Now I want you guys to take advantage of the fact that he has a new armor, and if you can see it, fucking ads. It's a small Ark. It is a small Ark. So this is really nice. There you go. Close it. So we have the sword attacking, which is great. And they send one horseman. Now of course it's more than one horseman, and the cool thing is Gus goes after the captain right away. I don't remember if he kills him or not, but he goes after the captain right away. And Guts feel bad. Oh, this is the one where Casca says, hey, we were supposed to be doing this, but you went alone. And this is kind of cool because this is somewhat showing that he didn't evolve. So now we know that 3 years, Guts has been with the Band of the Ark for 3 years. The problem with this chapter is the beginning of a new volume, if you will. So a lot of things change. So he's been with this, and the fact that he's willing to sacrifice himself is pissing off Casca, who cares about him, and Griffith. And Griffith's like, yo, you didn't change. You're still that guy that wants to die in battle. So a little bit of a situation here. A little bit of situation. Mike Sorrentino. So just a normal fight. Of course, Griffith wins, and it's super cool because you're seeing the difference. Like I love this two panels, Griffith smiling and Guts he's worried. Griffith is the kind of guy, and I truly believe that he believes that nothing will happen to him in battle because he's the chosen one, and his death will not happen on a small battlefield. Which, if it's the case, I love. If it's not the case, I still like. So there you go. People now they're really respecting, really respecting Guts. And there's one word that's important. They call him captain. Now, ultimately speaking, I like that fact, but I don't like that fact. Ultimately speaking, I like the fact that because of his strength, we saw that after 2 weeks he was giving 10 men, and then he's becoming the captain. Right now, ultimately speaking, it sucks because some people have been with the banner of Arc for a while, but it doesn't mean that you've been there for a while that you have what it takes to be a leader. That's a bit of a problem. That is a bit of a problem. I'm still shaking just thinking about it. Start with this victory, leader of the Arc, leader of the Arc Raiders. So the Raiders is not the main army. This is so cool. Look, in Gods, this is a huge evolution for Gods. He says, "I'm sorry about that, you guys. I went in charge out by myself," which means that. But he did it to protect them. But Casca is pissed. Casca is really pissed, and she gave him shit. Like, you don't care about your die. And she calls him a mad dog. And Guts like, don't call me that. Don't call me that. It's somehow provoke him. But it's more so, it's more so. And what I love here is the scene. Casca is like half of his size, and she grabs his collar. I think this is kind of awesome. Wholesome. And Griffith tells her, like, yo, I'm sorry, I'll be careful. It's like, no, I don't believe you. You always say that, you're full of shit. And I kind of like that from Casca because it is true, he's full of shit. And this is super cool because Casca gave him shit, right? And then Griffith goes in and he says the same thing as Casca. Now, ultimately speaking, Griffith didn't tell Casca to go. So the fact that she was able to see is kind of like a shout out to Casca. Look at this is beautiful. The beautiful moon tonight. So the shout out to Casca is also important in a lot of ways. The shout out to Casca is important because it shows. That's not a good idea. The shout out to Casca is a good thing because you see normal soldier were like, yo, Captain Gus, you're a hero. And only 2 people noticed that he wasn't doing well. Doing something good, which is freaking who. It's Casca and Griffith. So Casca goes in and Griffith goes in and tells Casca, I'm gonna take care of him. But then they're saying like, hey, you're too tough on him. You're too tough on Guts. Now, ultimately speaking, what I didn't tell you guys, but I should have told you before, is Guts, again, he doesn't care that other people of his team dies, but he cares about Guts because Guts is the one that's gonna get him to where he needs to be. Also, Guts is kind of the perfect soldier because Griffith has ambition to become a leader or a noble or a king, and Guts doesn't care about that. So he doesn't have to worry about betrayal. He doesn't have to worry about anything. But there you go. Now, it's talking about this. This is kind of sad. So if you read that whole chapter, you don't see. You have to look at the middle of the chapter to see 3 years ago when you joined the Men of the Ark, which means that he was there for 3 weeks, for 3 years. The last chapter ended 2 weeks after he joined the Band of the Hawk. So this is 2 years and a half later. 2 years, 3 years later, right? This is super cool. This is super cool. And this is crazy because look what it says. Come on, let's go get the why is it all about you this time? I'm sorry about today's battle. Even that part of you is a part of my plan. So Griffith is still an asshole who is willing to use Guts. Now this is also a super important moment. The Men of the Ark won, and Griffith is made a knight. So he's been giving some rights, and he's been giving knights. So technically, him and the Men of the Hawk are now a small army that he's in charge of, which means it gives them some privilege, right? And it's super cool because everybody's there except for Griffith, for Guts. Guts is training. And this is cool because it also shows that he doesn't care about all of that. So it's just nice. It is just nice. It is just nice. And this is a start. This is the start of the quarrel or the duality between Guts and Griffith. Guts, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Guts is a better captain than Griffith. Griffith, don't get me wrong, he'll fight. He'll fight every single time. He'll fight. Would he be willing to throw himself out like Guts did? And Guts is a dumbass because he risked getting killed. He's a dumbass. He shouldn't do that. However, he went out there and not only did he survive, he was able to successfully protect a lot of members of his team. Griffith never says that. You see, we've been watching I feel much better though. Don't worry. We've been reading the Golden Age for like 4 or 5 chapters now, and not once does somebody tell you saved my life to Griffith, you know? But at the same time, it's unexpected of him, right? It's unexpected of him. Like Rickett said, hey, you saved my life to Guts. And it's kind of crazy because you know Guts, and you know that Guts is not the guy to, or the type of guy to do that. So I did really enjoy that. Anyway, I love you guys. Take it easy. Peace.